Hey, I'm Jenny Chapman and I'm autistic. Sunflowers have always been a huge inspiration to me. I literally have one tattooed on my body. They've always symbolized to me, standing tall against the elements, facing the light, letting darkness fall behind you, and that always symbolized, what I wanted to be when I grew up. And it's always been a dream of mine to go to a sunflower field, and it just never happened. The timing was never right. And I got my diagnosis right before sunflower season this year. And so I decided, in the wake of this life-altering realization, that I was going to take myself on the best self-care date ever and take myself to a sunflower field to do some self-portraits. Now, there are about 25 photos in this set. I shared 2 of them, but they sort of encompass the range of all of my feelings surrounding my diagnosis and how I felt released and free now that I understood how my brain works, and also the uncertainty I had, the fear I had about repercussions and judgment. But ultimately, I was so happy to be there and so happy to finally understand myself, and these photos really encompass the joy I felt knowing why I am the way I am and how amazing that really is. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michelle Drummy, and I'm a visual artist and high school art teacher. I'm so excited to be a part of this show because much of my work over the past few years has focused on themes dealing with mental illness. I've looked at this topic through many different lenses, starting with a scientific lens. I was so interested in seeing what role the brain played in these emotions and experiences that I personally had. I've been so lucky to be able to work with the Brain Image Lab at SDSU. I am currently doing my MFA there in my 3rd year at the moment. And so I got to learn about the neurological underpinnings of these illnesses. And after that, I became a little more interested in my own experiences. And that's where the pieces that I put into this show came from. I titled them Refuge because I drew my bed sheets. And when I'm anxious or depressed or going through any kind of period of inner tension, I tend to just want to sleep or stay in bed and watch TV. And my bed sheets have become a safe haven for me. And although I don't always like that I have that tendency, it is something that I've accepted about myself. And so I chose to depict these without a background. Often when I feel anxious or go through periods of depression, there's not really a trigger, and I can't really put my finger on why. It just feels that way. And so these pieces are very important to me, and they are an investigation into my own brain. If you're interested in looking more into my work, my website is michelledrummy.com, and my Instagram art handle is michelledrummyart. Thank you so much.
My name is Carmen Amen, and I am the artist of The Bold and the Brash. I like to use humor in my art as an additional type of art therapy. I find humor to soften the blow of the emotions that we may be feeling, and I use humor on a daily basis to help cope with the harshness of the world. I hope you enjoy my rendition of The Bold and the Brash, and I can tell you it most definitely does not belong in the trash, nor does any type of art. I hope you have a great day, and happy arting!
Hello, my name is Kelly Ramirez. I'm an artist from Olympia, Washington. I often make paper cut and collage art. The collage here is called Picking Apples. It is about the relationship that I have with my skin. I tend to pick at my face, at the imperfections and flaws and acne. It is a body focused behavior, so it means I tend to do it when I'm stressed or when I'm anxious, and a lot of the times when I'm bored or not even aware of it too. I've been picking my face since middle school, and I've been doing a lot of research on it too. And for a long time I felt really isolated and ashamed for doing this to myself, but body focused behaviors are a lot more common than you think. They also include nail biting and hair pulling, and yeah, I just want to start a conversation around these types of behaviors, because what I find is that a lot of people don't talk about doing this to themselves. You know, myself included. For a long time I would hide it, and I don't want to do that anymore. Especially, I don't want to feed into capitalism anymore, but you know, we're here, we're existing. Anyway, yeah, if you do this to yourself, I'm here with you. It hurts, I know. But, you know, and there's nothing wrong with this either. It's just how we cope with ourselves. So, thank you, Recover Me Project, for allowing me to share this piece, and thank you everyone for listening to this and allowing me to share this with you. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Robin. The piece that I submitted is called I Feel Homesick for a Place That Doesn't Exist. It's sort of a photo collage, like a digital sort of photo collage sort of thing, with a bit of illustration. I feel like the piece is really sort of a good representation of trauma memories and trauma nightmares, and like a sense that there's something dangerous, but without really knowing what the source is. You know, especially because of childhood trauma affecting the way that I experience the world and comorbid disorders that I have. There's really no way to separate my mental health from my art. It's helped me to process a lot of things and explain things and depict things in art that maybe I wasn't ready to talk about yet, or maybe I didn't really consciously know what was going on yet. If you like the thing that I've submitted and you want to see more of it, I have a Weebly page, which is zerolab.weebly.com, and I also have an email, which is orbartcommissions@gmail.com. So if you're interested in commissions, I mostly do character design commissions, but I'm happy to do these sort of experimental photo collage type things as well. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Morgan Dressler, and I am the creator of the piece I've titled Depression. What inspired me to make it was somewhat of my own mental health, as well as to try my best to portray how some can feel while having the mental illness. They can feel unworthy or undeserving or want to cause self-harm to themselves. My message was to try to not only spread awareness about the illness itself, but to try and tell those that have it that you're never alone, you always have someone to talk to, and you're always loved.
Hello, my name is Alexis Park, and I'm the founder and producer of Recover Me, an evening of rebranding mental health.
Hi, my name is Hannah Trujillo, and I am the director for the West Coast production team of Recover Me.
Hi, my name is Cameron Bates, and I am the director of both the East Coast performances as well as the international performance.
Hello, I'm Carlos Angel Barajas, and I'm the East Coast producer for Recover Me.
Welcome to Recover Me 2020. First, we would like to thank our benefactor Dylan Jacobs for believing in us, because without you, none of this would be possible. We also wanted to thank Kathy Gold for her very generous donation. So with that, Recover Me 2020. This year, from the pieces submitted to us from around the world, we have handpicked the 11 national and international pieces that you will be viewing tonight. Having all of these pieces scattered about called for a little bit extra attention and a little bit extra help. So we created 2 Recover Me teams, one on the West Coast and one on the East Coast. Now, based on the location of the artist, their pieces were either allocated to the West Coast for Hannah Trujillo to direct, or to the East Coast for Cameron Bates to direct. Once we were following all CDC guidelines, what's exciting is that in our hubs of San Diego and New York, we were able to film the pieces that were closest to that location. The rest were filmed by the artists themselves where they are. Please take a moment to look at the program that was emailed to you along with your ticket for tonight's performance, because we have each piece labeled not only by title, but topic and trigger warning, so there will be no surprises.
Thank you again for coming. So tonight is in fact a fundraiser for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, otherwise known as NAMI. And our goal tonight is to raise $3,000 to be able to donate to NAMI's amazing programs that they use to provide relief, support, and resources to those struggling with mental illness. So, with that being said, we got 3K to get to. So if at any point in this evening you feel so inclined to donate, NAMI has actually given us our own donation button and link to their page, and that will be posted as a link to our Recover Me website through the chat function. So if at any point in time you feel exceptionally moved by one of these pieces and feel called to donate, we have that available for you, and we are super grateful.
We want to know where you are watching from and who you are with. Please let us know in the chat. And if you use social media, please take a picture and tag us at recoverme.sd and hashtag #WeAreRecoverMe. There will be a 5-minute intermission. At the end of the performance, we ask that you stay a while and join our talk back with a licensed psychologist, psychiatrist, and representatives from NAMI and the DBT Center.
We want people to engage by sending us comments via chat throughout the performances. Let us know what your favorite part was, the moments that stuck out to you, or what was really impactful. Our hosts will be the only ones to see these comments, and then we'll sift through and share them with the rest of us. Thank you, and enjoy the performance.
Hi, my name is Shane Morehouse. I wrote the poem We Are Whole. This poem talks about my experience with dissociative identity disorder. This disorder is formed in childhood due to severe recurrent childhood trauma and creates separate states of consciousness for the child to survive. This disorder is often dehumanized amongst the media in movies like Split. I wanted to talk about the beauty behind being a sum of a person's parts, and that no matter what you've gone through, you are not your trauma and you are not your past, and you can put the pieces back together and be something beautiful. We are not broken. Yes, our mind may be fragmented into different parts, but we are whole. We are all individual pieces of stained glass that make up a mosaic. The picture is not the same, but it's just as beautiful and vibrant, full of love and survival. We are healing from our trauma. That takes beautiful strength. We are radically learning to love ourselves. We take care of one another. We are family. I am a cog in this cognitive machine. I am part of a whole, but I am not less valuable than any other person because I'm a fraction of our psyche. Whether we remember everything that happened to us or not, our mind was powerful enough to survive the sickest of crimes one can commit. We are powerful enough. We are a picture of perseverance painted in pain and persistence. We are a masterpiece. Yes, we have scars, bumps, and bruises, but we are human. We are safe now. We are survivors. We are not broken. We are pieces of a puzzle put together to create an image like no other. We are whole.
Hi, my name is Ben Mumford Zisk, and I wrote and performed the piece that you're about to see, titled Blank Takes a Cigarette and Puts It in Your Mouth. The name is a reference to what it's like to live with a panic disorder that makes you feel like any event in your life, so fill in the blank, is the executioner putting that one last cigarette in your mouth before you... And I was inspired to write this piece because not enough men are willing to come out and talk about their mental health, the problems they may have had with their emotions, and the work that they had to do to get better. And the more of us are willing to talk frankly about our mental health, the more people will be willing to, reach out and get the help that they need. So you're not alone, and I'm going to do it again. Reach out and touch someone with consent.
My mother is a therapist. My father was a therapist before I was born. They were in therapy together when I was a kid, and I was in therapy when I was a teenager. But I never learned to ask for help. When I was 20, I started having panic attacks. I had them every night, as soon as the sun went down. It felt like I was running inside of myself, and I couldn't stop. Like my body was crushing me into a ball around that place in my chest where I feel love and guilt. I felt like my scalp was on fire, and my hands weighed 1,000,000 tons. It felt like nothing I had ever felt before, except when I was 6 years old and I lost my mommy inside of our own house, and I wandered from room to room screaming for her, thinking she had disappeared. My scalp was on fire. And when I was 10 years old, I started having nightmares because my hands felt like they weighed 1,000,000 tons. Even when I was awake, I couldn't get rid of the feeling no matter how much I shook them. These feelings have been with me forever. I never learned to ask for help. My scalp didn't burn, and my hands didn't feel heavy if I exhausted myself in the gym every day. And I couldn't feel scared if I was drunk and high all the time. So I became a bartender, a job that encouraged me to do both to my heart's content as long as my personal behavior didn't negatively impact my professional performance. I exercised obsessively and stayed far away from sobriety. I had had my heart broken by then, twice. And the idea of doing it again terrified me. So I took my emotional desolation out on a series of women in a long string of casual relationships and empty encounters. I hurt at least 2 people very badly during that time, and that's a reality that I can't change. I'm ashamed for how I treated those women, and I'm sorry. I was scared all the time. I hurt all the time. But I didn't ask for help, and I refused to go to therapy until one night I was rigid, making claw motions. I was so mad, scared, ashamed, confused, and an asshole that my partner told me she wouldn't get in the car with me unless I let her drive. For the second time in 6 months. And she said that if I didn't do something to change, she was going to leave me. And that was the first time that I had ever really thought about the effect that I was having on other people. The first time that I felt like a person in a world full of people, a connected piece of an interconnected system. The first time. Because when you always feel like the world is ending, you mostly just think about yourself. There's a form of narcissism that goes hand in hand with having a panic disorder, and believe me, I got it. What is panic, really? A fight or flight reaction? Fight. There's a lion! Punch a lion. Put your fucking arm down its throat and let it choke to death on your ruined limb. Win. Fight. Kill. Kill the lion. Or kill yourself getting away. Turn. Run. Run as hard as you can. Run like run means that you accept death if you don't. You're dead if they catch you. When you feel like that, you can run yourself to death and still break even. That's panic. And panic is also emptiness. Because the cortisol that lets me kill or be killed also suppresses my empathy. Because sure, you want to be able to kill the lion without worrying about its little lion feelings. But you can't care about yourself either. Not when it's kill or be killed. Not when you might have to run yourself to death. Certainly not when you might have to go fight a lion. Kill or be killed means that you can get your chest carved open by a great big cat and still hit that fucker back one good. Panic is caring about yourself as little as you care about anybody else, for as long as it takes to survive, by any means necessary. My therapist once asked me, what do you do with that feeling when it happens while you're shopping for groceries? I still don't have a good answer for him. But the other day, I stopped myself. I was carrying a box of tools inside the fence out back of our new apartment. And I had it with one arm on my hip, and I was reaching out to open the door, and suddenly it occurred to me in that funny, nonverbal way that I'm very strong, but I don't always have to be. I called out, and in a minute, my partner came and held the door for me while I carried the tools inside. And I could have done it myself, but it would have been harder. And I might have hurt myself. Or maybe not. Maybe I would have been fine. Maybe the metaphor functions best if you don't examine it too closely. I'm not in therapy now, but I was for a long time, and I fully expect to be in therapy again. I learned a lot about how to navigate my panic, where it comes from, what sort of lies I've learned to tell myself in order to survive. And then, when I was ready, I started taking a pill. And the pills aren't for everybody. But this one is for me. But there are no solutions. There are only paths. Some paths take you towards pain, and other paths take you away from pain. Some paths take you away from people, and others take you towards them. Contrary to my early beliefs, the paths that take you towards people generally take you away from pain. I never learned to ask for help, and I never learned how to fully engage with other people. But I'm learning.
Hi, my name is Heidi DeMaio, and I am the writer of the piece you're about to see, which is an adaptation of an excerpt from Morning Glory, a one-woman stage play. In Morning Glory, we meet Eleonora. She's a young woman who has been tasked with clearing her garden of Morning Glory on threat of eviction, all while dealing with the aftermath of a sexual assault. The play deals with themes of toxic femininity and the tending instinct, which is the instinct to freeze and appease where other people may have fought or run away. In this particular passage in the play, Eleonora is on a run, processing sort of everything that's happened to her and reckoning with her own responses in this moment and how she might have inherited those from her ancestors. And what you're about to see is an adaptation of that moment. Thank you.
I run faster. I think about the women who fought. I think about the women who fled. And I imagine one more woman on the African savannah. When he moves to touch her, there is maybe a moment of that eyes wide, heart pounding in chest kind of feeling. And then her breath stays steady. Her head tilts to the side. Her eyes soften, fixed on him. Her energy doesn't pull forward or back, it just moves without making distance, like a soft tide gently lapping at the shore. He encroaches, but doesn't need to pursue. She just stands there a moment. She giggles. She tries gently to move his hand, and when he doesn't bend, she does. She responds smiling. She makes sure not to offend him. She is fueled with some kind of yet unnamed feeling, some crackle of weakness. She stays and she doesn't run and she doesn't fight. She just lets him. This is her instinct. To freeze, appease. And it isn't until it's all over that she finds it in herself to run, to get angry, to cry. And 9 months later, she has a baby girl. A baby girl with much the same instincts as her mother, who smiles and laughs, who tends and befriends. This must have been my ancestor, the first of a line of women like me, who couldn't get ourselves out of trouble if our lives depended on it. my mother, and her mother, and her mother, giggling our way out of situations when we wish we could run. My stomach turns. I keep pushing forward. I find a spot on a hill overlooking Deerfoot Trail, a vantage point for the wide expanse of prairie sky before me. I sit on a little pile of dirt before a bush of thistles and tiny yellow flowers. The sun is hot on my neck and the wind races around me. I watch cars pass fast across the highway, the flat expanses of land, the place where I grew up. I pick a tiny flower, and another, and another. Patches of color as bright as the sun, and twice as yellow. I press them into my pocket and let myself go home.
Hi everyone, I'm Gabe Tanlock. I'm a theater artist based in San Diego, California, and I am the choreographer, actor, performer, editor of my piece called COVID Dancer. Now, COVID Dancer originally started off as an assignment for class, actually. When we all transitioned online, one of the assignments was to devise our own work. That was originally on the syllabus, and I took the opportunity to do a solo piece and to film it. I don't have much experience in film, so I took it as a learning opportunity too, to really get into cinematography and nonverbal storytelling, and dance too. But the story that I wanted to capture was how isolation was really affecting my mental health. As a dancer, as a theater person, we really are like, the work that we do is very communal, right? It's all about congregating and gathering and feeling the same, hearing the same story and feeling the same emotions. And for me to go from doing rehearsals every night from 6 to 10 to me just being alone at home in my apartment, not able to go to dance classes, not able to get to campus, not able to see friends, not able to see my family actually for a while. It was really, really hard on me. And I really wanted to capture that. Lean into that discomfort a little bit, I guess. But in essence, I submitted this to Recover Me, and we're here today for this little presentation. We reformatted a little bit, changed some of the music, changed some of the shots, but I still think that this story is worth telling, and it's first because it's very relatable. A lot of people lost so much, lost an incredible amount, that's what I'm trying to say. And it's crazy that this is the normal for now, and it's probably going to be like that for a little bit more. Isolation had a really heavy effect on me as a person, had a heavy effect on everyone in the world, and I really wanted to try using film, dance, movement to express those emotions of isolation, depression, and anxiety. So that's really my piece, all the little wrapped up in a word bow, I guess. But I really, really hope that you enjoy. Thank you to Recover Me for offering this platform and allowing me to share. It really, really means a lot to be able to do something creative again. Well, thank you. Hope you enjoy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Morgan Wallace. I'm 37 years old, and the piece I'm going to be performing is my poem, The River. The River is a series of 13 haikus that was made into one poem about bipolar disorder. I wrote this as a way to help people understand what it is like to live with bipolar, not just day by day, but hour by hour and minute by minute. I was diagnosed when I was 16 with depression, but knowing what I know now about the symptoms of bipolar disorder, I believe that I was misdiagnosed. So I have been living with the symptoms of bipolar disorder for about 21 years now. I hope that with this, people will have a better understanding of what it is like to live with bipolar disorder. And I hope that you all get to enjoy the river. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Larissa Ryan, and I am the visual artist for Morgan Wallace's poem, The River. With this piece, I sought to create a composition that was very moody and surreal and flowy and almost dreamlike. I wanted to create something that was very expressionist in nature. I utilized a lot of undulating lines and contrasting colors with cooler tones dominating the composition to maintain that moody atmosphere. And the process of creating the piece itself was, to me, very reflective of what it's like to live with mental illness on a day-to-day basis. I wanted to give up sometimes, and it was overwhelming, but I just had to keep pushing and moving forward and persisting, because on the other side of that struggle was something beautiful, and if I didn't keep going, I wouldn't get to see it. So, thank you.
I wake up each day. I feel water around me, and I am moving. I'm on a river, one I'll never understand, floating helplessly. There are times it's calm. I feel peace around me, the sun on my face. The currents move. They grow stronger as I go. I feel much unease. Currents get violent, my body thrashed about, unknowing my way. I have tried to fight. The current is too strong for me. Body goes under. I try and try to battle the strong waters, just trying to breathe. Then the river calms. There is no rhyme or reason. I am just a slave. My river is hard. One moment, I am okay. The next, I am not. There is no control. There is no understanding. I cannot explain. Words can elude me on the waves that crash through me. I simply float on. Over time, I have learned how to handle my river, even in my pain. When I cannot see what is going to happen next, I just surrender.
Hi, my name is Mary Catherine, and this piece is called The River Takes. I really wanted to explore themes of trauma, depression, and suicidal ideation. The story is about a girl named Nina who goes through a traumatic experience and looks to a local dangerous river for comfort.
Should I throw one in? Should I throw one in? Should I throw them all in. Should I throw myself in? No, I wouldn't do that. Danger. I'm not supposed to be here. Not because of that. Because I'm supposed to be at school. Dancing ballet. Mom was supposed to drop me off today, but I didn't want to go today. I don't like dance much, but I do it for Mom. But not today. I like this way better. I like being here with you better. I can't cry. It hasn't happened in a really long time. I'm usually a crier, oh yes. I was in the car with Mom and she ran over a duck. One of those pretty white ones. I made her pull over to see if it was alive. I was a hysterical mess. Mom didn't care though. She said, "It's nothing to get upset about, Nina. Stop crying, Nina. You're going to make us late for dance." But it broke me up inside. Even thinking about it now only sort of makes me choke up a bit. But see? No real tears. The grass here is especially good. If you don't talk about something, does it even exist? When I'm here, I think I'm special. I think that I'm the only person alive, and this is where I'm supposed to be now. I don't talk about this with anyone. But I haven't seen anyone in a really long time. I don't know how long, actually. I can't remember. Oh, I'm so tired. Something really bad happened, I think. I lost my shoes a while ago. But I don't really need them. I feel like I actually don't need them at all. I used to be so fragile, but now I don't really feel anything. Does that make me strong? I feel so much better here. I've been thinking about flowers a lot recently. Rolling away. Sinking, then emerging. Where? Everything you take us with you willingly. There is another place. A better place. There must be. So I've decided. I want to go too. I want to see where the portal leads. I have nothing holding me back now. I'm making the choice. I'm ready. What are you doing here?
It doesn't go anywhere.
You're lying. I've seen it happen. What are you here for? To watch. Oh.
There's nothing down there.
Stop saying that. It's not true.
If you don't talk about it, it still exists. It still happened.
Are you going to stop me then?
I'm here to watch. Aren't you scared?
No. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. I don't need shoes or ballet or Mom. You understand that? I'm floating. I'm floating. Ugh! The grass is so bitter here. I thought the grass would be better here. What a disappointment, huh? I feel different, but not in a good way. I'm disappointed and I'm starving. This place is so... I just thought I would be someplace else. This sucks. It doesn't feel right. Okay. So, what's the deal here? This isn't the end of the road now, is it? Or the river, or whatever? The grass isn't good here, and nothing looks different. What am I going to do? Where do I go from here? It's not nice. I don't feel home here. Please, 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 what is going on here? I feel nothing. I want to go home. I sort of thought I would wake up and be back in Crest Canyon. Is this where I'm supposed to be? I was expecting peace and answers. Mostly the answers. Oh my God! The duck! If I don't think about it, it never really happened. Why am I dreaming of the duck? Why am I dreaming of that day? You used to answer me. You used to be the one I needed. Now I'm all alone. I'm truly all alone. The vigil.
Welcome, all. Welcome, all. It is with heavy hearts that we symbolically put to rest those perished in the Crest Canyon River. As the spring water flows, it takes with them new souls. And now, the ceremonial reading. Too dangerous to stay, too dangerous to go. A town so low but so high with the heavy flow of water. Water wet and strong and hard, the river flows and flows and flows. And with every attendee who wishes to look upon their own reflection, to see their mirrored image, to speak to the shiny face staring back at them. Be warned. The river, a mirage of tranquility and beauty, wears horns. Beware. The river takes and takes and takes until it is no more. To float along the river is to float away to the next life. And with the fast-moving mirror leaves behind so many. It leaves behind husbands and wives and children and uncles and aunts and cousins. Always lots of cousins. And dads and moms. To float along the river is to float away to the next life. We lay now in prayer, a moment of silence for those taken.
Where's my mom? Where's my mom? I know. If I dance, she will come. Mom? Mom? The duck. My mom. I don't want to think about that. If I don't think about it, it's like it never happened. Oh no. Oh no. No! I remember that the duck got killed. My mom told me, Nina, don't cry, it's nothing to get upset about. And she checked to see if it was dead. She was standing in the road looking at it, disappointed. We were late to my dance recital. And then she walked to the car and I was so mad, so I pulled her back out onto the road to look and make sure. And then big bright light. Oh my god. I remember everything. She wasn't standing there anymore. I didn't look. I couldn't look down, so I ran. Oh god, I ran to the river! I want to go home. I want to go home.
Hi, I'm going to be reading the introduction to Melanie Najarro's piece, I Know. Melanie is a creative writing student at the University of Mary Washington, and they hope to pursue playwriting after college. They've always had an interest in writing and recently began to focus more on playwriting. They've had personal experience with mental illness and felt it was important to spread awareness about these topics in order to have more conversations about them. Their piece, I Know, depicts a personal experience they have had with depression and how it can affect relationships with others as well as the relationship with oneself. Writing this piece helped them feel better about this experience and be able to speak more freely on it. They hope to encourage others to be able to share their experiences with depression and other mental illnesses as well, and feel more open to speak on these issues and experiences with others. So, without further ado, please enjoy Melanie Najarro's piece, I Know.
Hi. I know I said I would call you right back, and I meant to, but I just couldn't. You see, in the 2 weeks I spent trying to call you back, I felt myself being tied down by something, but I don't know what. I wake up in the morning and I feel as if I've been hit by a truck, so I lay down in bed for a while, and by then it's 2 p.m., but it's not my fault. It's not my fault. So I make myself go to the bathroom because I realized I hadn't peed in 2 days. I mean, I didn't notice it. Honestly, I haven't felt much of anything lately. The only thing I've been feeling is how heavy it is to pick up my feet and how moving any part of my body just feels so tiring. It's like picking up cinder blocks. I never knew it would feel this way. Anyway, while I was sitting on the cold toilet seat, I got a phone call. I almost didn't answer, but my phone was in my hand, so I figured, why not? Now, I know you didn't mean to yell at me, and I know it's hard to understand why I stopped going to work or school. I know you're trying to help me, but I don't think you get it. I wake up every day feeling like this, and I know you said you missed the old me, but I don't know how to get that back. Every day, I wake up trying to feel something other than this, but there's this voice in my head that says, I should feel this way, I deserve to feel this way. I'm starting to believe it. I mean, why wouldn't I? Seems all I ever want to do is lay in bed. I appreciate you not leaving me. You know that, but things are different and I don't know how to fix them. This isn't me. I don't know who this is, but whenever I try to explain it, I can't find the words. It's exhausting. Having to stay in bed till 2, and sure, you think, why not just get out of bed? But it's not that simple. Every morning is the hardest. I wake up in this weird haze, like I'm awake, but not really. So I try to sleep it off. I know everyone hates me for like never going out, but when everything is so exhausting, it gets harder and harder. I know it's difficult, but I hope you understand. I'll remember to call back sooner next time.
It is my honor to introduce this next piece, Through a Mother's Eyes, written by a wonderful mother who wishes to remain anonymous in this evening's production. She has asked that I read her following statement to introduce her piece. This is written with admiration and honor from a mother's heart, mine, to all those who discover that their child has taken a journey that they did not expect. We are the behind-the-scenes warriors, the unsung heroes, the ones who build fortresses around our hearts and dive deep into the trenches to try to understand, find help to make it all better, with the goal of having our loved one thrive, to be the best version of themselves and to set us all on a new journey. To all of you, I see you. I feel your pain, but more importantly, I feel your love. This one's for you.
You await the miracle of birth, and then all of a sudden, there she is, my daughter. I watch her grow day by day, month by month, year by year, treasuring the moments and enjoying the amazement with each new experience. Hop in her step, a song in her heart, a uniqueness all her own, a heart bigger than the world, an unsurpassed zeal for life, a personality wider than the sky. Lovely soul, my daughter. Suddenly, abruptly, there was that day, the day the world stopped spinning on its axis in a way I never imagined. Age 13, a cry from the very bowels of her soul. The kind of cry that you did not know a soul could even make. How could I have not known her despair or the cause of it? My girl, now how do we fix this? How do we make her whole again? No one to talk to. Evaluating, testing, diagnosing. The psychologist, the first one. The second one, the meds. That med, this med, the right cocktail. How to diagnose what is truly undefinable. My daughter, age 18. Now, we thought we had the right psychologist, the right meds. She came of age when the psychologist did not have to share information with us. Believing all was as fine as it could be, we packed her up, sent her off to college. My daughter. However, my gut, my mother's intuition told me otherwise. I knew something was terribly wrong. I could feel it in every fiber of my being. I was on constant mental alert the entire time she was gone. I was looking on Facebook and in every possible direction, trying to catch a glimpse of what was happening. Nothing. I prayed like never before. At night, I cradled my Bible in my arms to find solace in my sleep. My daughter. We received the call. Come and get me. I don't belong here. I want to come home. My blood ran cold. And the statement that will plague me for the rest of my life. Mom, I was going to kill myself, but I didn't know how to say goodbye to you. I grabbed my suitcases. I packed an empty one inside of another one. And in that moment, I became a warrior. No, this was not about me. This was about her, my daughter. I had to be strong. I became strong. When we arrived, she fell into my arms and hugged me like I had never been hugged before, proclaiming that she could no longer live like this. She was ready for help. Lock me up, take me to an institute where I can get help, my daughter. So scared on the way home. What to do? No one to talk to. It was a frightening time for all of us. A new chapter in our lives, 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. I felt like I was losing my mind. My heart hurt like it had never hurt before. But this time, she had a psychiatrist that got it right. Oh, the right cocktail of drugs. My daughter. The earth started to right itself back on its axis. There was an excitement for the future. That there would be one, and it would be a happy one. And today she is stronger than ever. She shares her gifts, her compassion, her life's lessons with others. A song in her heart, hop in her step. She's back. My daughter. Her strength is what brought me to seek therapy myself. We breathe now, and we continue to grow day by day, month by month, year by year, treasuring the moments and enjoying the amazement with each new experience. My daughter.
Hello there, I'm Kate Huffman, and this is a poop with a Santa hat on. And it has no relevance to what I'm about to say, which is that I wrote the next piece that you're about to watch me perform. It's an adapted piece from my one-woman show, I'm Too Fat for This Show, which covers 20 years of my anorexia, eating disorders, body dysmorphia, OCD, general anxiety disorder, and chronic pain. Basically a whole lot of diagnoses, right? Which effectively act as labels. And now, in some ways, a diagnosis can really help us to understand ourselves, but in other ways, it can be really confusing and just your mind can spin out of control around them, and it can lead to preconceived notions from other people that aren't always particularly useful, as you'll see from the piece. So I think the best way to go about life is to just explore yourself, be true to yourself, keep challenging your own thoughts. But you didn't ask me for advice, did you? Anyway, I hope that you will enjoy this piece, Misguided Labels. Say goodbye, Santa Poop. Oh, hey there. Don't mind me, just filling out the old online dating profile. Yep, I am 37 and single, and I'm good with that. I mean, seriously, I am seriously good with it. It makes a lot of sense to me. Not that I'm opposed to a relationship, clearly, right? Been in several, actually, extended ones, thank you very much. Ultimately, they didn't work out, but that does not mean that I am assuming that all future relationships are doomed to failure because of that. Definitely not doing that. So, yeah, I'm open. But let me try to articulate why explaining myself to some poor fool of a love interest is such an ordeal. It gets complicated by preconceived notions about misguided labels. Observe. Oh, poor Stuart. He has OCD. He really suffers. Versus, ugh, another skinny bitch who thinks she's fat. Like, eat a fucking sandwich already. Oh, I'm sorry, you're in pain because you work out too much. Well, here's an idea. Just fucking stop. Switch the label from OCD to eating disorder and witness empathy evaporate. I mean, let's be real. There's a decent portion of you out there when you hear the term anorexia who thinks, ugh, white girl problems. And hey, I get it. It's like, oh, boo-hoo, I was a fat kid. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, hey, I was a fat kid and I grew up to be just fine. To which I say, good for you, you're stronger than me. What, do you want a medal? God. But that's my whole point. I'm supposed to know better than this, right? To know that body standards are bullshit. And the thing is, I super do. But my life revolves around this. These hieroglyphics are the only way that I stay sane throughout the course of the day. I need this on my person at all times. I must write every calorie down before I forget. So these numbers have the ultimate say in whether today was a good or bad day. All right, so look, these happy faces, these smiley faces, that means I hit all my numbers that day. Good day. But these sad faces, these angry faces, here's a day where I wrote, you stupid fat fuck, didn't hit all my numbers that day, bad day. I could book the role of a lifetime. I could save a busload of orphans from going off a cliff. I could develop the power of teleportation, but if I hit calories that day instead of calories, I'm still gonna lay awake at night feeling bad. And I'm gonna have to skip ahead to future days and mark lower goals to make it up. And I'm gonna have to kind of look at that day and think, oh, wait a minute, we're gonna be doing a show. We might wanna get drinks after. That'll be a harder day to keep it down to or, oh, I really wanted to get a lot of writing done that day and I have a really hard time writing when I'm hungry. So, I don't know, this day. Numbers, numbers, numbers. It's almost arbitrary. You know, it could be the number of hairs on my head. It could be the number of times I can say Massachusetts mission in a minute. Massachusetts mission, Massachusetts mission, Massachusetts mission, Massachusetts mission, Massachusetts mission. Oh, fuck me! It was only 18 today? What is wrong with you? You better put everything else aside and put all of your time and energy into practicing tongue speed and articulation, you weak, worthless sloth! So, is this an eating disorder? Yeah, it is. Of course it is, yes. Is it also just OCD? Yeah, it is. I feel I need to interject here. Although body dysmorphia is listed in the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Eating Disorders as a form of OCD, eating disorders are listed as a separate category. Okay, so the invasive thoughts from body dysmorphia are properly categorized, but the compulsive behaviors that those thoughts induce are still put under a category that gets unfairly judged? Precisely. Which is why, in my professional opinion, I think you should consider eating a fucking sandwich already. I guess I get it. Body dysmorphia is listed under OCD because people who suffer from OCD often get vivid, compelling images about what will happen to them if they don't complete their routines, like graphic images of their loved ones being violently murdered. This is what happens to them. With body dysmorphia, the invasive thoughts are beyond compelling. They dominate everything. I am very often only half present because of the feeling of my swelling gut, my ever-growing thighs, and it instills hopelessness and terror and despair. Even though I know body standards are bullshit. I would never judge anyone else by body standards. So it's not only illogical, it's against my own values. But even still, these goddamn synapses in my brain that formed when I was super young, connecting my value to my body shape, somehow they trump logic and values. So that's the situation. But even explaining it like that inevitably elicits the same response from dudes.
Oh, wow, that is very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. So I think we should slow things down.
So there you have it. 37 and single. Just me and my OCD, or eating disorder. But OCD is just so much easier to own. And not that either of these things render me unlovable. They don't. They just complicate things. But hey, I mean, love is complicated, right? And I'll say it right now, I am amazing second wife material. Yeah, second wife, because if I meet someone who's 37-ish, who hasn't been married, like, what is wrong with him, right?
Hi, I'm Margaret Hansel. I'm the poet who wrote Wait, the next piece that you're about to see. This poem was something that was definitely inspired a lot by the pandemic, and just the additional burden of carrying physical presence throughout all of this. As many of you have experienced, it's just a difficult thing to come to terms with existing in a time like this. And so I kind of played with that idea of not wanting to be physically present in my body, not wanting to be human, not wanting to carry all of the conditions that comes with. And it played into a lot of my own body image history, and Cameron, our brilliant director, was able to visualize that as something bigger and bring in several different stories that played with gender expression, with different body types, with different races, and the experiences that accompany those, because we all have bodies, but we certainly experience that in different ways. So it's been transformed into this beautiful movement piece, and I really hope that it speaks to you on some level, because you are seen, you are loved. Thank you. I was born on the coast. The entirety of the Pacific runs in my bloodstream, straining to burst the very seams of my skin. I am sky and sea and storms confined to an expiring carbon structure that is measured by woefully inadequate pounds, kilograms, ounces, the human need to quantify both the gravitational pull on my body and my worth. I carry the burden of a body I didn't ask for, one that is never good enough for me, for society, for the men I fuck, for my mother. I exhaust myself every day in the efforts to love it, knowing that I have it luckier than most and still unable to feel at home in the stretch marks, the rolls and ripples, the feeling of being. Existing in the physical is overwhelming to the point of despair. I resent my hunger, my tiredness, my sex drive, the conditions of surviving, when I'm not sure I wanted to be here to begin with. Can you still exist as the intangible? As the insentient? Sometimes I stare into the pastel wash of a Brooklyn sunset from my rooftop, to wish gravity would reverse and pull me into deep space and let me return to the stardust I used to be.
Hi, I'm Haley Mashburn, the playwright and performer of I Am a Star. The piece is an expression of the anxiety, fatigue, and isolation that can manifest both as symptoms of PTSD as well as from the daily routine of putting on a mask and pretending that everything's fine. I drew initial inspiration from the stars and the idea that although they look bright and beautiful, many of the ones that we see each night have been dead for some time. Sometimes I forget how to breathe. I close my eyes, see the past, present, future. I see one moment in time on a loop from 20 different perspectives. I forget which one I lived. Forget if I lived at all or if it was just a dream. I feel like I know the world and I know nothing. I open my eyes and I don't know what to believe when I see my reflection staring back. Have they also felt the same shaking in their bones? Do they also fear the morning and the night and the sounds and the silence? Or are they blank? Shallow. All I could be if I could be nothing for just one precious breath. God, I am so tired. I'm so tired of being scared and so scared of being tired. I look up, breath sharp and quick, and see the stars. If I were to swallow all the words, if I were to become the starry night, I wonder if that much space and all those thoughts would drown me out. I want to sleep. Sleep, perchance to dream. But at 3 a.m., when I can feel all my bones and all the pains I can't name, closing my eyes feels like a death sentence. Opening my eyes feels like a death sentence. I look up, lungs tight and burning, and see the stars. I wonder if they're also tired. I wonder if they yearn for each other. I wonder if they know. I am a star too. I am a star. I am beaming. I am unforgettable. I am a dying star. I am imploding. I am spinning so fast I'm not moving. God, my heart's beating so fast. I think it's beaten by the amount of nothing I've done to bury the something so deep I don't remember it, until it's all I can think about. Like a dying star, I too am a bright and shiny ghost. I too am remembered as I was. I too sit on the steps of sweet relief. I too will spend an eternity in grief of what I used to be. Like a dying star, I know the second I stop, I'll shoot and fall and cease, but the world will only see a beautiful catastrophe. Someone who was dying to be seen, so I keep moving. Like a dying star, I am one of a million standing alone and just out of reach of everyone else who hurts just a little too bright at night and disappears at sunrise. Like a dying star, I too am so wrapped up in using every last part of me so that I never lose control. And when I burn myself out of existence, I hope I leave third-degree marks on your soul. So whenever you weigh your life's work, I am there, beaming, unforgettable. Long after my death, I am there, shining like some brilliant stain you can't wash away. Until then, I walk down the street and I see stars all around me, striving to build constellations. Eye contact, nod. We yearn for each other. I am a star too, they say. I am a star too, I say. I am a star. I am beaming. I am unforgettable.
I am. I close my eyes. I open my eyes. I look up at the stars. I breathe until I can't.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to this event. My name is Lexis Park, and I am the founder and producer of Recover Me. So now we are going to be inviting a few panelists up, and we're going to be having a talk back. If we want to just take, I know they can't see us, but just another second, a round of applause for all of our artists. This has been such a labor of love, and I'm so gracious to them for creating these pieces and for you for coming and giving us your time. This really means a lot, and this is how we make the change. We make it together. So we're gonna take a second to just get these panelists up. All right, hi everybody. So we would like to do this if you could introduce yourself. So if we could start with Alana, then we'll go to Candace, then Jessica, and we'll end with Milton.
Well, hi everyone. What an honor to be here with you. I'm Alana Iglevitz. I'm a psychiatrist at UCSD and the VA hospital. I'm one of the associate training directors for the psychiatry residency here at UCSD, as well as the advisor for wellness at the School of Medicine.
Thank you so much, Alana. Candace?
Okay, there we go. Hi, I'm Candace Duryea, and I'm licensed marriage and family therapist. I have a practice that specializes in trauma, it specializes in anxiety, depression, and eating disorders. And I work in San Diego, California. But I do have telecommunications, and I have clients all the way in Canada, San Francisco, Arkansas, New Jersey, all over Pennsylvania, all over the country.
Thank you so much. Go, Jessica.
Hi, everybody. I'm thrilled to be here tonight. I'm Jessica Feldman, and I'm the Director of Programs and Services for the National Alliance on Mental Illness in New York City. It is one of many affiliates of the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, Milton, we'll end with you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Milton Brown. I'm the director of the Dialectical Behavior Therapy of San Diego. That's my primary role. I am a licensed clinical psychologist. I am a psychology researcher. I teach classes at Alliant International University.
All right, thank you so much. So what's gonna happen is we have 2 prepared questions for each panelist, and then we're going to open up the floor to you guys. So here we go. So Alana, we're gonna start with you. So taking medications can be extremely taboo. I'm wondering, are people born genetically predisposed to an imbalance of chemicals in the brain? How is brain chemistry altered as people are affected by life and age? And does that sometimes occur naturally? So I know that was like a compound question, but whenever you're ready.
Wonderful. Well, thanks so much. And before I even answer your questions, I just want to thank all the artists and the actors and the actresses and the performers for tonight's performances. They were just so moving and raw and poignant and thought-provoking, and we're just so fortunate to have experienced that. So thank you. In terms of your question, you know, there's lots of questions there, and then there's the questions within the questions. And you know, the reality is that the brain to me is one of the most fascinating, if not the most fascinating, mysterious organ that we have in the body. And anyone who claims to understand all its mysteries is not telling you the whole truth. The more we know about the brain, the more we know it's not just the chemicals in the brain that communicate from cell to cell, but it's actually the neural circuit. So it's basically how one part of the brain talks to another part of the brain that may be involved, and in fact is likely involved in thinking and in feeling. And of course, when we have struggles with those two, it happens with mental illness. So it's not as simple as just that there's a chemical imbalance. Now, all That would be like, if someone has a hearing loss and you say that, oh, they have a sound imbalance. No, they don't have a sound imbalance. It's that they struggle with sound, and so we have to amplify the sound. And the same thing with these medications. You seem to think that they're amplifying some noises so that the brain can better hear them and work with them. In terms of, the questions about, are you born with it? How does age affect all of it? First of all, I want to really stress, although I am a doctor and I do prescribe medications and I very much see their importance in treating mental illness, I want to stress that they are by no means not the only approach, and nor should they be ever. I oversee the psychotherapy parts of the training and the residency, so I'd be remiss to make it all about the medications. But in terms of as you age, changes, and are you born with it, and all those questions, the reality is that there's always this amazing interplay between one's life experiences, what one's born with, hence what we call genetics, the workings of the brain, culture, politics, all of that. It all mixes together and influences how we live, how we think, and how we interact. And so it can change with age. But really it's that interplay that's really the beauty and the mystery of life, but is important in understanding mental illness. Alexis, I think did you already ask me about, because of how stigmatized medications can be,
Yes.
what concerns are? Okay, so I'll answer that too, is that, understandably, when people ask me as a doctor, but ask my colleagues, how do these meds work and their concerns about them, what I really hear is that there's different questions being asked. They're not really looking for a neuroscience lecture from their physician or their therapist. What they're really asking is, are these safe? Are these going to control me? Are there going to be irreparable consequences if I take this medication? Am I fundamentally damaged that I need a medicine to basically control who I am and how I think? And will this medicine fundamentally change the essence of who I am? So I just want to address that by saying that the goal of medicines is not to control you, and it's not to change the essence of who you are. The goal of the medications is to decrease your suffering, to decrease literally your symptoms, so that you can go on to live a meaningful life filled with connection and purpose. For some people, they find the right fit, like we heard in that wonderful piece about panic. And for others, it takes a while. And for others, medicines just aren't the right fit for them. And the key is really to find a doctor who can really work with you and walk with you in that journey and hear you. Because despite how we all wish we had this ability, no one has this magical ability to read people's minds and to read the future and to look at you and to know exactly which medicine will be the perfect medicine for you, which medicine will be tolerated by your body without any offense. And so it's really a matter of finding someone that you can learn to trust with time and who can really listen to you, and so that you listen to your own body and you're empowered in this journey in your life.
Wow, Alana, thank you so much. That was great. That answered everything and more. That was perfect. Thank you so much. So we're going to move on to Candace. So hi, Candace. You have been working with a new neurofeedback technology recently in regards to leveling out the brain chemistry in tandem with trauma work. Can you explain this?
Okay, yeah. So, so neurofeedback is not, actually, it's not new. It's been around for a long, long time. And there's different variances of it, and it's starting to kind of kick in, I think, because it's become more readily available. The easiest way to kind of like connect this would be like biofeedback. About 20 years ago, like machines used to be like $20,000 or $30,000, and now they're like $100 and they pop into your phone and they clip on your ear, and you can have your own personal biofeedback machine that measures your heart rate variance to help you with your anxiety and stress. That's HeartMath, by the way, which is pretty incredible when you think about that. So neurofeedback is not new necessarily, but the availability to clinicians is starting to become a very small snowball right now that I think is catching up a lot more as technology continues to move forward. And so the type of neurofeedback that I've been looking at that I love, that I think is great, is subcortical, based off of seizure training. And it basically takes kind of history of seizure training where individuals were able to kind of view or monitor their seizure events in real time. And as they did that, they were able to be safer. And as that happened over time, the secondary thing started to happen, which is they started to become more resilient to seizures. They started having less of them. And then over a longer period of times, these individuals then started reporting no seizure activity whatsoever, which was incredible to think about. And suddenly they were kind of like, well, wait a minute, if we can do this with seizures, can we actually use similar identity or kind of similar ways in which we look at how your subcortical or central nervous system communicates with certain regions of your brain in small areas, and do a feedback real time, see if your brain can actually start to sort out itself and make you more resistant towards depression and anxiety. And it turns out, yeah, you can do that. And that's the type of neurofeedback that I use. It's like a mirroring effect. And so when people ask me like how that works, I kind of compare it to like the same idea of like, well, I think like 100 years ago, when we didn't have the technology for excellent casting and excellent x-ray machines, and you broke your arm and a lot of hard labor was done during that time, right? You kind of had to adjust your life. Like your arm would be broken and it would do the best it could to heal back together, but it didn't have sufficient areas to kind of make those finite ways. And so your arm would heal on the outside, but on the inside it still hurt and it still had difficulty doing and having the same proper form and function, right? So you would figure out how to do your labor anyway, and you would kind of do it in a different way without the use of that arm in the same way. And then if you're able to do x-ray machines came along and casting came along, and now suddenly we can set an arm, get those bones matched up just right, and your body has this beautiful integrity that it actually heals itself. Like that's a major structure of your body. Your bones are major structures and they can break, and then you can put them together and they somehow figure out how to mend. That's incredible. That's incredible. So if we do that with your brain, it somehow figures out how to mend itself. And it's kind of incredible to see. And it's pretty incredible to see people have that integrity and be able to kind of understand that that their brain can have some of that resiliency. So that is that's been around for a long time, but I think what's changing is that for the first time this past couple of years, people have actually been able to get access to it and affordability to it, and clinicians can actually apply it without having to have a ton of neuroscience background. They can actually do it more kind of relatively indiscriminate with their patients, and it's been pretty incredible. So I use it as an adjunct that someone processes something that's very difficult for them, and those are typically laid in certain regions. And then I follow up typically with a neurofeedback session or sessions for that individual, so that the brain can then also build resiliency in addition to the trauma work.
I was muted, but what I said was that was incredible. It's wild to see how things change and alter, and it's cool that we can watch it mend back together, and you can see that in real time as well.
Yeah. And in addition to that, I got excited about the question, but this is a great example. Like you guys doing this with Recover Me is incredible, right? So like you took something that was kind of like in this area, and the pandemic kind of pushed us to kind of create something, and you spearheaded something that's pretty beautiful and amazing and incredible, and offered vulnerability for people to just be able to present something and do it in such a way that inspires others and touches others. And it kind of can now be rebroadcast or pushed out in a way that maybe wouldn't always be done in just one intimate space. So great job.
Thank you so much, Candace. It's so
Yeah,
good.
you're welcome.
I'm really glad this resonated so well with you.
Yeah.
All right, Jessica, it's your turn. You ready? Okay, if you wanna, you should have, nice, perfect.
Yeah.
The phone can be a little tricky. All right, so with NAMI, what we love about NAMI is it's such an incredible wealth and knowledge of resources that are available to people. And with the effects of quarantine, it's really altered people's mental health. And people are needing a place to come to seek help, maybe for the first time, maybe continually. Where do I go? What help can I get? And so we're hoping that you can talk to us a little bit about what NAMI offers. So specifically, if you could touch on the NAMI hotline, education, and the different support groups that NAMI has available currently online.
Absolutely. So the National Alliance on Mental Illness is a national organization, and there are affiliates. I know I'm talking to people all over the country, which is so exciting. So I'm going to just focus on the general national models rather than the New York City model. But what's so unique about NAMI is that we really believe in the strength of the peer experience, that lived experience. So we do not replace clinical work or medication. We work in tandem with therapists and psychiatrists, psychologists, and even inpatient stays to provide that sort of the community in which people can belong and feel supportive. I like to say that NAMI is where people spend the rest of their life in their recovery. And so it starts with the helpline. So it's really not a hotline, it's more of a helpline. So it is manned and womaned by volunteers with the lived experience, either people living with mental illness or more uniquely, the family members. So we serve parents and adult children and siblings and cousins and friends. So we really speak to the fact that we know that mental illness impacts the entire family, and that we believe that you really have to engage the entire family in the recovery. So the helpline is the place it starts. People call and get support and resources and get hooked up to our classes and support groups. NAMI has signature, nationally recognized, vetted, evidence-based classes. Family to Family is an 8-week class for family members of people living with mental health conditions, and the curriculum is robust. And one of the cool things about taking a NAMI class like Family to Family is that no matter where you do it in any city, because the curriculum is pretty rigorous and robust, you're going to get the same information no matter where you take the class. And then there's our peer-to-peer class, which is for people living with mental health conditions. Both curriculums talk about different diagnoses, medication, stigma, recovery, how to talk to a provider, how to navigate the incredibly convoluted and difficult community mental health system. We have a class called Basics, which is a 6-week class for parents and caretakers of young people 17 or under living with a condition or a behavioral condition. And then there's the support groups, and that's really the core of the NAMI services. There are support groups for people living with mental illness as well as their family members. NAMI New York City has over 30 support groups all week long. One of the cool things that you should know about NAMI, for all of you, I heard so much in the performances about stigma and barriers to recovery and treatment and services. One of the cool things about NAMI, because we are an entirely free service, we provide all of our services at no cost. We are not restricted to the barriers, the traditional barriers of other mental health services. We don't have intakes, and we don't do treatment plans, and we don't do diagnoses, we don't do discharge planning. The only thing that's required to get help and services at a National Alliance on Mental Illness affiliate is to want our support and want the support of others with that lived experience. So we have removed so many of the barriers, and people can come, and we have people who have been in our support groups for 10, 20, 30 years. And another really cool thing is about giving back that which was so freely given to you, that once you're in a support group or you've taken a class, you can be trained by one of the state affiliates to then be a teacher or be a support group facilitator. They're all volunteers, and there's something really empowering about being able to give back and to help others who are experiencing the same stresses and anxieties and fears that you were experiencing when you first came to recovery and to our support. So we welcome everybody. Our doors are open.
Well, everybody, that's where your money's going. So now would also be a fantastic time if you would like to click the button and donate some more to get us to our 3,000 benchmark. Jess, there we go. Thank you. Just know what NAMI is up to. All right, Milton, that means it's your time. So if you could just explain to me what DBT is and how the skills can apply to life, what is the importance of DBT?
Well, first I want to define what DBT is.
Thank you.
So DBT is a comprehensive treatment, and it's a level of treatment with various modalities, various components, more treatment time as well in an average week, so it's more therapy, and it matches the level of severity and complexity of people who are like the highest level of struggling with emotions and behaviors. So it usually means they have 2, 3, 4, 5 disorders, usually an anxiety disorder, a depression disorder, and usually struggle with some impulsive behavior. And so it's a comprehensive treatment. There's skills training, usually done in a group format. Doesn't have to be in a group, but it usually is. And then that's 1 meeting per week. And then there's an individual therapy session each week as well for the average person in full DBT. And the focus is on many things beyond skills. It's also regular therapy strategies that you might find elsewhere, but a lot of other things that don't fit into a skills group, like trauma-focused treatments wouldn't be a skill per se, but it would be a regular treatment process. And then thirdly, the clients are able to access their therapist between face-to-face meetings for help with their current struggles. And the most important, of course, is keeping them alive so they can get the treatment. Many of these clients are suicidal. And so most therapists are not available after hours. They say, call the crisis line. And so that's very different than somebody who knows the client, knows their triggers and their struggles, and is available to help them build up their skills with coping and stay alive. And I do value all the volunteers at the crisis line, but they just don't have enough for a lot of these clients who are really struggling with severe emotion dysregulation struggles. So with that said, those various modalities within DBT, those various components, they're dialectical. So it means they're balanced. So dialectical means balance between different things that seem at odds with each other. They seem to oppose or contradict each other. And so what that really means for the most part is strategies to promote change and strategies to promote acceptance. So those seem to be at odds, but they blend together in DBT. And so this certainly means how to help the client change their emotions and also accept their emotions, because there are limits for changing emotions, absolutely. So coping's improved. Coping with emotions is more effective when they're both sides. Changing their thoughts and learning to have their thoughts, tolerating that their negative thoughts are there, and we don't have conscious ability to get rid of negative thoughts that distress us. A little bit, kind of, in the long term. So accepting and changing thoughts, accepting and changing behaviors, accepting and changing life circumstances that seem unacceptable, that seem intolerable. So life problems. And DBT is a behavior therapy, so its primary focus is on learning skills and learning how to be effective with life. Given that life is hard and given that emotions are hard, it's about building a meaningful life more than anything. So the skills per se, you asked about skills. So the skills are roughly in several categories. One is distress tolerance. That's a whole section of skills. How to get through something hard, like your significant other says they don't want to be with you anymore, or you have a traumatic event, or you lose your job. So distress tolerance. It's not about really solving anything. It's just about getting through something hard so that you can then catch your breath and start working on the overall problems after the crisis passes. So we sometimes call those crisis survival skills. So distress tolerance, that's really basic things that are in a lot of therapies, but very thoroughly a set of options for that. And then another set of skills are mindfulness skills. So the way you can tolerate emotions and accept emotions and thoughts without them controlling you, without suffering as much, is through the skill that you can get from meditation or other forms of mindfulness practice, where you learn to see those things as they are without adding layers of misunderstanding. So an emotion is a physical experience in our bodies, and if we practice watching our bodies, we can just have that basic experience, rather than the emotion being also, I can't stand this, it will never end, this is horrible, I'm horrible for having this emotion. So that's not emotion, those are thoughts. And there's layers on top of the emotion that make it build up into something that feels like they can't tolerate. And sometimes the person will say they want to kill themselves. So it's learning to just focus on what is without magnification, you could say, through those ways that we react to our thoughts and our emotions. So mindfulness is one of those really, really important skills. And then there's a lot of really practical skills for how to be brave enough to take steps into the realm of life that's intimidating to start to build up a more meaningful life. So some of it we call opposite action. So like if you isolate and depressed, well, you're not going to have as many meaningful connections with people, and you're going to feel depressed and lonely. So you'd want to kill yourself. Well, because you're not getting out there and doing those very difficult things to build connections. And so a therapist helps, a DBT therapist, like many others, helps clients break them into small pieces of very practical tasks, learn skills for making those little steps likely to slowly accumulate progress. And a lot of that is desensitizing as well. Facing your fears is not necessarily a skills issue, it's just getting the encouragement to take steps to face what's scary. And sometimes that means trauma reminders, for instance. People avoid relationships or other challenges because they remember their trauma. And so sometimes it's tied in with that. So it's about behavior to a large extent and getting the kind of life that's acceptable. So I want to, if I could just add in very briefly my comment about biology. So you didn't actually, your question about biology, you didn't ask me the biology question, but I just wanted to highlight behavior therapy and strategies like opposite action and exposure, and even mindfulness, and trauma-based therapies that help you face uncomfortable memories, prolonged exposure. There's a variety of strategies within behavior therapy and DBT that go beyond traditional talk therapy. So if you just talk in a way that's easy and natural, and you get validation and support, that's very different than these other therapy processes when they brought in. We call those behavior therapy strategies. And there's a lot of research that for those various types of conditions, those types of strategies actually in very profound ways change the functioning of the brain. They change the function of the hippocampus, the amygdala. It's very complex. Even the expression of genes can be changed. So some of the latest research is that a lot of people suffer with epigenetic markers that are molecules attached onto their DNA. And exposure therapies for trauma, for instance, can reset those markers epigenetically to suppress genetic expression of emotional suffering. And so I've been learning a lot about that, and that comes from prolonged exposure, telling your trauma story, facing your trauma triggers. And so a lot of that is DBT. A lot of the people in DBT are suicidal, and a big part of that is because they've had horrible trauma histories. So that's an example of the biology processes that fundamentally change how people are able to deal with life. And so I wanted to comment on that. We also have, as a very broad emotion regulation set of strategies, we have biofeedback as well. We have the very portable devices that people can hook up to their phones that connect to their ears. And it has to do with controlling your breathing in a way that elicits big changes in heart rate variability, and that regulates emotions. By something you do, you create a behavior, breathing in a particular way, it changes emotion physiology. So it's a very broad set of strategies.
Perfect.
And, yeah.
I was going to say, yeah, thank you so much for walking us through that whole process. And it is wonderful to have so many options available. Like talk therapy works so well for some people. DBT is also great, and having the hotline is lovely. So it's wonderful to have all these options. So thank you for continuing our education in what else is available. So yes, we're going to make this a little brief so you can open it up to audience questions. But Alana, here we go again. So what do medications do in regards to brain chemistry, and why is taking medication sometimes necessary? Just a little revamp from the question earlier.
Oh, sure. So, this is questions asked by participants today, yes?
No, these ones, I actually wrote these questions, and after we're done with this set of questions, that we're gonna open it up to the rest of the people who've attended this.
Wonderful, wonderful. So basically, how do medications work, and why should people take them? Is this a paraphrase? It's correct.
Yeah. So just like a brief description of what that would sound like.
Sure. So with mental illness, which is of course complex in itself, there are many symptoms that occur, and for various reasons, medications can just basically quiet down those symptoms. So just to be very concrete about it, if someone is experiencing a profound irritability with trauma, sometimes an antidepressant can just quiet down that irritability. As I mentioned earlier, it relates to neural circuitry as to why this happens, and the more we know about it, the more we seem to think that that basically it's not that there's purely a chemical imbalance, but that's a nice way of thinking about it, is there is an imbalance in the brain, and due to the effects of the trauma on the brain is practicing patterns of thought that lead people to be really irritable and of course have many other symptoms. I'm just picking one. And so what we understand is that these medications can quiet down those symptoms, and it doesn't mean it's the only choice. I want to stress this. Similarly, someone who's having recurrent nightmares, there are therapies that can help with nightmares, but sometimes the medicines can just quiet that down. For many conditions, the nervous system, I think of it as like it's just frazzled. The nervous system is not communicating well, just like when we all get in a frazzled state, right? If you try to explain a story when you're in a stressed out state, it is very hard to articulate that in a way that you look back and you're later happy with what you said. And it's the same kind of thing. The brain, it just can get in a frazzled state, and these medicines seem to just quiet down the nervous system so that parts of the brain can communicate effectively again. In terms of, was there one more part to the question, Alexis, or did I answer that?
No, you definitely answered it, because you had answered the other part so thoroughly earlier as well. So thank you. So we are going to now open up the floor to audience questions. We are going to take one or two. So we're going to take a second to look in the chat. So let's see what's going on. All right. So we have a question from Nori Victoria, and she's wondering, currently navigating my community of Black people who are in dire need of treatment for many traumas, but feeling discouraged at the idea of having to explain the impact and nuances of traumatic experiences others may not experience before even getting down to the business of our own healing. What is your advice to people of color who avoid therapy for this reason? So Candace, I would actually like to open up the floor to you about that one.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Gosh, I've had a lot of history that I work, some of my earlier years, for about 7 years, I worked in downtown San Bernardino, particularly when it was the highest murder rate in the nation. And then I also have done special projects in Uganda with trauma villages and individuals, as well as being able to work with Salvation Army down in Bell, California, as well as Father Gregory Boyle's treatment facilities. Well, not treatment, I guess it's just like Homeboy Industries, and being able to kind of look at the variety of ways in which not only just, I guess, individuals of color, but just culturally across the board, where you have an American standard of that, and then you've got other kind of international standards of that as well. And I think the biggest thing that I noticed is that one, the research around having childhood trauma pretty early on and being susceptible to environments in which you're constantly under duress and distress leads to later on, individuals present as having more chronic organ failure, more chronic difficulty with their heart regulation, or being able to have just different diseases, diabetes, things like this that actually have been now kind of been shown consistently across the board. This is kind of a part of being able to manage some of those systems earlier on, those traumas earlier on. One of the things that kind of also is part of that is the system of being able to find community within, and finding what we call like common bonding around traumas. There's certain systems or certain ways in which individuals, that's a commonality. That's kind of what you grew up with. It's kind of what you knew. And there's a twofold factor to that. One, it helps to build resiliency, because you're able to kind of recognize someone else is able to have a similar experience. You're not in it all alone. So there's not a repression to it. And then the other part of it is looking for actually a standard of a way out of that. And that has a lot to do with being able to support individuals where they're at in their communities. And that's been a very big difficulty, I think. That's the biggest thing I've seen overall. And so the difficulty being able to see someone who, I've worked with many gang members who want to get out of their gang life, who want to get out of that situation. Let's take that for one thing. They go the family route, but they can't leave the area they're in. They can't leave those facilities because there's so many things attached with that to leave. And so they have to be able to have a job or opportunity within that area. Someone coming from the prison system, let's say there's that as well. In addition to just the ability to kind of work within family support, like being able to have a family that stays cohesive. That's another thing that's really, really important. The amount that we can structure and support for families to be able to actually have that. So jobs are important. As Father Gregory Boyle would say, jobs not drugs. Being able to actually play a facility, like having community support for them as well as family support is a huge part of like not having to deal with individual symptoms or going through and explaining what that particular style is like. And then in addition to that, sometimes individuals, they have, like we see in our homelessness population generally across the board, not just in some of these areas where we're kind of dealing with the impoverishment of how do we get mental health treatment to them. It's very difficult to get some individuals stabilized, and that's another part of it as well. And so sometimes there's the ability to normalize. What we did in Uganda is we normalized a lot of trauma interventions that were actually nonverbal across the board that allowed for individuals to not have to go through a huge amount of different protocols or different understandings or things like this, or even have to relate across all different kinds of, you can hear my children, sorry. They're so cute, but anyway, they're in the background. Sorry, but being able to just normalize them to the region. So family support is important. Family support and structure is really, really important. Community support is important. And also being able to have kind of skill sets and integration of basic understandings of regulating and then affirming for individuals who choose to actually step forward in trauma resiliency and response. I've had these men who've decided to kind of take on their family life, and they've decided to kind of do something different. And man, I just think that takes a tremendous amount of courage, and that's something you just can't, that just comes from someone's heart. And so if someone has the courage to do something like that in their life, and they have the courage to face so much adversity, the biggest part about supporting them is being able to put in place effective, not complicated, but effective symptoms that support them. So that helps.
It does. Thank you so much. So I just heard from our stage managers, we're going to do 2 more questions really fast and we're going to wrap things up. So we're going to take a look at the handy dandy chat. Okay, so here we go. Shalina Hatfield wants to know what strategies might be used for those who have developed Zoom fatigue, and are isolating themselves due to COVID. How can we help those we see experiencing this? Great. I'm going to open up the floor if anyone has any.
I put blue blocker. I put screens on that block the light, and that definitely helps with the Zoom fatigue. That's just a basic tool. Thanks.
Okay, great. We love that. There's also like the blue glasses. I like those a lot too. I tried them, but they're pretty cute. So let's see if there's.
I would just add to that I think when people say Zoom fatigue, they're oftentimes talking about 2 separate things. One is like the literal fatigue that your eyes experiences, but the other is a psychological component, right? And everyone's in this together. And I think tonight's performances are such a welcome reminder that just because it's by Zoom does not mean it lacks meaning and connection, right? And so I'd encourage all of you to take parts of what we all just experienced tonight together and bring it to how you live your life and how you do your Zoom meetings, and make sure there's connection there. If you are alone and your families across the country and you can't travel, which is the case for so many, make sure that you're creative about how you use Zoom. Possibly eat meals while you're on Zoom together. You know, do things that would be meaningful. It's wonderful. Hear the kids in the background. See your friends' pets and kids. And, you know, the more you can stay connected in creative ways, even though it may be by Zoom or the equivalent, I think the better we all are.
I think some of it's basic education and prompting each other to develop new habits. Like just for the very first time a month ago, I said to my sister and her 3 daughters and a couple other people connected to our group, I said, let's set up a group video call. And it's like that technology's been available for a long time. We're stuck in COVID feeling isolated. And it's like we didn't even think about it and trying to work together to prompt ourselves with a new norm of frequent contact as a group. And it was already available. We just aren't thinking like that. And so there's more we can do within these constraints.
Great, thank you guys so much. So in the interest of time, that was going to be our last question, but I would like to thank you all again so much for donating your time to answer these questions and come to talk to everybody. So thank each one of you, I really appreciate it. It's an important comeback. It's an important part of this Recover Me process. So we really appreciate it. Also, a really quick note, NAMI does have some guides on voting this season about the different mental health bills that are available and where they stand on things. So as you're filling out your ballot, please go vote. NAMI actually has a saying that says, vote like your mental health depends on it, because it does. It really, really does. So we ask that you please take the time to look through everything. NAMI also breaks it down by state and even smaller categories. You can find almost up to the minutiae, the very, very small but impactful changes that are being made. So with that, thank you guys all, audience members, participants, artists, production team, everybody. We are just so grateful for coming and making Recover Me 2020 what it was. I didn't know what we were gonna do this year. Since everything had moved to Zoom, I was sitting on my couch and I was like, well, now what are we going to do? And it ended up, like Candace said, being a blessing in disguise. We were able to open it up from not only San Diego, but around the world. We got pieces from India, we got pieces from England. And it was wonderful being able to grow this Recover Me community and the really cool creative ways people were able to record things and the stories being told. And I'm just so grateful. I'm so, so grateful to everyone involved. So I think that's it. We're going to be signing off for the night, but we want to hear how you guys experienced this, what you liked, what you didn't. Please reach out to us either via our Instagram DMs, or if you would like to email us, our email is on our Instagram and is also on our website. And I look forward to hearing from all of you soon. We will also have the recorded version of this up available in the cloud. So we'll have a way for people to be able to purchase playback links for this evening's event. And once again, thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next year for Recover Me 2021.